in the initial steps, what will happen is that, okay, you've separated. Okay, what do you do? Okay, and the first thing that you do is you talk, and you'll talk to anybody that will listen. Family, friends, work colleagues, legal professionals. You will talk to other people as well who will listen. Okay, anyone who will listen. Okay, and why do you need to do this? Okay, because everyone has the inherent need to vent. Everyone has the need to feel supported. Everyone wants answers at that point in time as well, and some people want an end to the pain, and some people want someone to blame as well. So what I'll do is I'll go through, the different subheadings of vent, supporting, answers, pain, and blame. Okay, so why do people need to vent? Because people need to get things off their chest, and it's usually a reaction to a negative event. Okay, so if you bought a new car, there's a good chance you wouldn't vent about a new car. You would actually brag about it. So, but if someone scratched that new car, you would be venting about it. You'd be saying, some idiot scratched my car. Look what I'm going to do to that person when I get them. So it's a venting, okay, at that point in time. And also too, another reason why people need to vent is they need to collude with other people as well. And what they'll do is they'll collude with like-minded people, and you'll find people to talk to. Yet they will stick out like sore thumbs. If you go to the local pub, there'll be someone sitting there wallowing, about the same things. And when you do that, whatever, yep, you'll talk to people in similar situations, and people that will support you, and you have to feel, and by doing that you feel supported. Yet you have that need to feel heard, and you have need to feel that your problems matter as well. So the next thing I'll talk about is that why do people need to feel supported? Okay, and often when people talk about their problems to somebody and they're being heard, it's that their problems matter, but more importantly that they matter. Okay, so if you're talking to someone about your problems, they will say things to support you, but if they actually dismiss you, it means, if they dismiss your problem, they actually dismiss you, and that's how you feel, especially when you're in a crisis. Okay, and the people that they gravitate towards generally collude with them, and the collusion seems like it's actually helping at the time, but in the long term, it does nothing. It actually keeps them stuck in that one position, and they generally wouldn't talk to someone who's oppositional to their problems at that point in time either. And also because they need to feel that they're a part of something, and that people do care about them. Because when you first separate, you often feel isolated and alone, and you don't know what to do. So people often have that inherent need to feel like they're a part of something. So if they're talking to people that are like-minded, it's often a negative experience. So at this point in time, people often feel quite overwhelmed because they've got so many people that they've talked to, lots of different points of view, and at this point they'll get quite overwhelmed. So when you get overwhelmed, you don't know what to do. I had a situation recently where, like in the writing of my book, I've got the book covers done, and I actually showed it to a number of people, 10 people to be exact, and all 10 people had different points of view. And I was quite overwhelmed by that because I didn't know who to believe, who not to believe, whose opinion that mattered the most, if it was a qualified opinion, etc. Okay, so at that point in time, I just went with my gut. So I often use this analogy. Before I get to talking about why people need answers, there's a really good analogy that I found, and it's 6 people standing around a tree looking up. A kid is stuck crying for his mother. 6 people offering advice, and not one of them has a ladder. And this is what happens, is that you often have people giving you lots and lots of advice that's not specific for your situation. Okay, that they'll give you lots of advice, but they won't give you the solution, and that's the ladder that you're looking for. So if someone doesn't have a ladder for you that's right for you, you're going to be confronted with a lot of negative information at that point in time too. So why do people actually need answers? Okay, people often turn to well-meaning family and friends, in their quest to find answers. Okay, and by doing this, sometimes their points of view are quite constructive, or they can be quite negative as well. So sometimes when talking to people, it actually changes the way that we view things, because we're actually taking their point of view on as well. So if you're reasonable at the start of your separation, by talking to lots and lots of people with negative points of view, you're not going to be able to come to a reasonable conclusion, are you? So, and another reason why people need answers at this point in time is that they need to have control of the situation. So, because if you're feeling quite overwhelmed and you're quite angry, quite upset, you're going to want to control the situation, and this is where it gets into really big trouble. Okay, So, people often think that, as I said, by talking to lots of people, that they get the right information, and before they know it again, they're really overwhelmed. I'll keep talking about overwhelmed, but they're more confused than when they first started. So more information and more different perspectives don't equal, having a peace and having the right information. And often the people that you talk to have different motivations and different agendas as well too. So you've got to find out what their agendas are and what their motivations are. So for example, if you're talking to family and friends, they want to support you, and they don't, and they want to feel like that they're actually with you. So you might be actually venting to them and talking to them, and they might be agreeing with you when actually really what they're thinking is that, no, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you at all. But because I love you and I want to support you, whatever, I'm going to agree with you. But that's not helping you, because that again is collusion. Okay? It's not the right information. Okay? Because they fear, because usually it's born on fear of losing you, or losing contact with your kids, or doing other things as well too. Losing that support from you as well. Okay? And also, the next thing that I want to talk about is that what happens is that people are in pain, okay, and they want to get rid of that pain. So what they do is, emotional pain is some of the worst kind of pain. It's often brought on by stress, and stress of a situation usually. And they think that by talking about things, it will help it go away, but it actually doesn't. It reinforces things, and it makes you feel stuck in that situation. So negative thoughts equal and negative talk equals negative thoughts. So if you're talking negatively, you will think negatively. So you want to try and get away from that. Okay. Emotional pain can trigger physical issues too. So you need to really look after yourself at this point in time too. Decreased appetite. You're not sleeping well. Depressive symptoms and anxiety, and a host of other symptoms as well too. So you want to really look after yourself at this point in time. And people will do lots of things to take away that pain. Okay, they will do short-term measures. They'll drink, they'll take drugs, possibly, but they'll work initially, but not in the long term. Okay, and as I said, quite destructive stuff. Okay, especially in times of increased stress. So when you're in pain, what generally happens, it starts a path to where it's taking you. So when you're in pain and you're not knowing what's going on, you're overwhelmed, you're emotional. So you've got to be really careful at this point in time, because what you do right now is going to set the path for what happens later on as well. So, being overwhelmed means that you're not in control, and you're going to try and find things to be in control. And that might mean, that you go to a lawyer or you go somewhere else. But this is not the time to be thinking about a lawyer. It's about sitting back and actually looking at the situation from an unemotional point of view, if you can do it. Okay. And the last point that I want to talk about in this conversation is that why do people need to blame as well? People have this inherent need to blame, when they're in pain and when they're overwhelmed. So because it justifies their position, and it's much easier to blame your ex-partner and the person that's causing you that pain, whatever, rather than taking responsibility for what's happened as well too. It also shifts the responsibility from yourself to somebody or something else. Okay, and people often have a need to be right. So when you talk to people who collude with you, yet they will say that you're right. Okay, and it just justifies your position, does nothing else. Okay, doesn't fix the problem, doesn't do anything. Okay, and people will often, when things don't go their way, they'll blame their former partner, lawyers, or the system that they're going through as well too. So where to from here? Okay, so you've established that talking doesn't fix things, and that by talking to the wrong people doesn't fix things, it just makes things worse. And the more we talk, we actually prolong things. So, in a nutshell, people wanting to vent, people want to feel supported, people are looking for answers, desperately trying to get rid of the pain, and they are looking for someone to blame. So what we want to do is dissect all that part, okay? And we've just talked about all that, and it's often who they turn to that's the problem. So if you go to a counsellor, to talk about your emotional issues, that's great. If you go and talk to mediation about getting some things sorted out about parenting and stuff, that's great, okay? But talking to family and friends doesn't actually fix the problem, okay? So I use like ACP, I call it. It's called Acknowledge, Converse and Be Proactive. So ACP stands for Acknowledge and identify that there is some issues. Converse with the right people to get the right information. Like you wouldn't talk plumbing with a mechanic, would you? You just certainly wouldn't do that. So, and be proactive, not reactive. So sit back, plan what you're going to do, because what you want to do is you want to look at the end, result, rather than looking at, like what's happening at the start, because people get really, really focused, yet they get into a vacuum. and they get focused on their own problems. Okay, so it's all about them, it's all about me, it's all about what's happening to me. I'm the victim. But being proactive, it means that you're moving forward and getting things moving from here.